Our world is rapidly changing, with climate change having a detrimental effect on all parts of our planet. The ocean has long been a blanket of protection for the worst effects of climate change by absorbing the excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, 90% of heat emissions, and importantly, generates 50% of the oxygen we need. But we are now seeing that this is at the cost of our ocean life. Rising sea levels, ocean acidification, and ocean warming are all creating problems for ocean life. This is what we will lose if we don't act now. We follow the life cycle of the 6-bar wrasse to discover how vital these aquatic ecosystems are for the livelihood of not only so many species but for our planet as a whole. Putting the responsibility in our hands to encourage change and reduce the effects of the climate crisis so future generations can experience the same planet that we do. Seagrass meadows are widespread across the globe and are considered one of the most productive ecosystems in coastal areas. With around 72 species worldwide, they are found at most shores across the globe. They provide structure to largely featureless sediment bottoms, helping with water quality and protecting against coastal erosion. This is where our journey begins for the 6-bar wrasse. Adult fish will perform spawning aggregates where they will group together in large numbers to spawn and fertilise eggs. Because of its structure, seagrass provides the perfect place for a nursery for many fish, and this is where they'll spend the early stages of their life. These eggs will hatch and grow to larvae. At this point, the 6-bar wrasse has much paler, fainter markings than at its adult stage. The significant bars in its name are a lot less distinguishable, and the fish is most notably a lot smaller, putting it at bigger risk for predation, which is why an environment such as seagrass is a great place for smaller species. Due to its three-dimensional structure, the seagrass provides a multitude of hiding places. But what many people don't realise is that seagrass plays a huge role in carbon sequestration, which is a factor that can help fight climate change. While only covering 0.1% area of the world's ocean floor, they account for about 10 to 18% of the total oceanic carbon burial. So how does this happen? The carbon is absorbed, transported to its roots, and is then stored for thousands of years. And they can do this at a rate 4 times faster than terrestrial forests. And while it has such a big impact on carbon sink, it's often forgotten in conservation strategies. In 2010, it was estimated that 29% of seagrass area had been lost, equating to 1/3 of carbon sink associated with seagrass meadows lost as a result. And it is now predicted that 40% of all seagrass ecosystems could be lost in the next 100 years. Once at a juvenile stage, the 6-bar wrasse will often visit coral reefs before making a full migration. Coral reefs are the flowers of the oceans, with a huge diversity of fascinating fish of all different colours surrounding them. The basis of coral reef growth are the coral polyps and the symbiotic algae that live in the coral tissues. These microscopic algae are called zooxanthellae and are what give corals their bright colours. And there are different types of coral reefs, including fringing reefs, patch reefs, barrier reefs, and atolls. But coral reefs are depleting all over the world due to destructive fishing practices, marine pollution, coral mining, and a recent major threat is coral bleaching. Coral bleaching is the whitening of corals as a result of rising water temperatures. The coral polyps become stressed and will expel the algae, in turn losing the coral's colour. Without the algae's mutual relationship with the polyps, it becomes difficult for them to survive and most will die off. Once this happens, it is rare for them to come back, leading to less reproduction and deterioration of reef ecosystems. However, bleaching is not restricted just to corals and can happen in any benthic animal of the phylum Cnidaria, for example, sea anemones. But what makes coral reefs so important? Coral reefs are renowned for their biodiversity, and 25% of all marine fish are associated with reefs. Food, habitat and breeding grounds are just some of the many functions coral reefs do to support marine life. For the 6-bar wrasse, this is where it spends its juvenile to adult life. You will usually spot the 6-bar wrasse in loose schools or on its own. They feed on fish eggs, crustaceans, smaller fish, and have been observed to use tools to break their food. Like most wrasses, they have protruding teeth, which also aids them in feeding. This wrasse can also be spotted with other fish species of similar sizes, which is not uncommon to see on a reef. These fish are also hermaphrodites, with females having the ability to change sex to become males throughout their life cycle. Eventually, when mature, the 6-bar wrasse will perform the spawning behaviour, and the life cycle will begin once again. But none of this can happen if we don't protect these ecosystems. Thousands of marine species will die, having a knock-off effect on us as humans. Coral reefs and seagrass don't just benefit the environment and sea life, they affect us too. Many people rely on them for fisheries and ecotourism. Without these, it affects the economy and the livelihoods of so many people. Which is why we must listen to the scientists and start acting to save these precious marine systems.